You think honesty is power. How naive, how beautifully exposed you are. Listen carefully. What I'm about to tell you will not comfort you. It will strip you. There was once a man named Elias Varn, a quiet figure who walked through rooms like a shadow stitched into human form. No one ever understood him. Not because he was complex, but because he refused to be measured. In a world addicted to confession, he became dangerous by omission. While others displayed their limits like trophies of morality, Elias erased his. And that is where the story begins. Not with strength, but with the deliberate burial of it. You see, people do not seek connection the way they claim. That is a polite lie wrapped in humanistic perfume. What they truly seek is leverage. They observe you patiently, obsessively, waiting for that one careless sentence. I would never do this. I could never go that far. That's not who I am. The moment you speak it, you are no longer a person. You become a system, predictable, exploitable, finished. Elias understood something most people are too morally intoxicated to admit. Once your limits are known, they are no longer boundaries. They become instructions. Instructions for manipulation. Instructions for erosion. Instructions for how to dismantle you, piece by piece, without resistance. He watched it happen to others. The generous man drained until hollow. The patient woman tested until her silence became permission. The forgiving friend slowly turned into a doormat disguised as virtue. They all believed they were being good. They were wrong. They were being mapped, and maps are meant to be used. So Elias did something unsettling. He stopped declaring who he was. No vows, no moral speeches, no emotional contracts. When asked how far he would go, he smiled. Ambiguously, like a locked door with no handle. And that silence began to distort people's behavior around him, because uncertainty is not discomfort, it is control. When people cannot predict you, they hesitate, and hesitation is the crack where power seeps in. Others tried to decode him. They tested him subtly at first. A delayed reply, a small disrespect, a boundary pushed just slightly. With anyone else, this would begin a pattern. But with Elias, there was no pattern. Sometimes he ignored it. Sometimes he addressed it directly. Sometimes he disappeared entirely. There was no rhythm, no script, no safe assumption. And so people stopped pushing. Not because they respected him. Respect is too noble a word. They stopped because they couldn't calculate him. And what cannot be calculated becomes dangerous. Fear is not born from aggression. It is born from unpredictability. A man who always retaliates is easy to prepare for. A man who never retaliates is easy to exploit. But a man whose response exists in a shifting void, that man becomes a psychological threat. Elias cultivated that void like an art form. He didn't just protect himself, he let others reveal themselves. When people believe you are harmless, they remove their masks. They become careless, honest, ugly. And Elias collected those moments like evidence. While others preached transparency, Elias practiced selective opacity. He preferred absence, the absence of reaction, the absence of definition, the absence of emotional accessibility. In that absence, people projected their own fears onto him. Some thought he was kind. Some thought he was cold. Some thought he was dangerous. All of them were guessing. And that guessing exhausted them. Because the human mind craves closure, Elias denied them that satisfaction. And denial is power. There was a woman once, Maren Hale, brilliant, perceptive. She believed she could read anyone. She tested him subtly, strategically. She expected patterns. She found none. Slowly, something shifted. Not in him, but in her. Frustration. Then obsession, then doubt about herself. One evening she confronted him. "Why don't you ever show what you really think?" He looked at her calmly and said, "Because the moment I do, you'll stop showing me what you really are." That was it. No lecture, just a quiet verdict. She understood, too late, that she had been revealing herself the entire time. When you define your limits, you stop observing, you start defending, you become reactive instead of strategic. Elias never defended, he absorbed, he watched, he waited. Patience, when combined with ambiguity, becomes a weapon that doesn't need to strike. It simply suffocates the opponent's certainty. Kindness without unpredictability is weakness in disguise. Not because kindness is wrong, but because it becomes a guarantee. And guarantees are invitations to push further. Elias was not cruel, but he was not safe either. And that distinction created a boundary far stronger than any words. People behaved around him not because they were told to, but because they were unsure of what crossing the line would cost. Cost is the only language human behavior truly respects. Beneath values, ethics, and compassion lies calculation. What can I get? What will it cost me? Is it worth the risk? Elias controlled the last question. He made the risk impossible to measure. This is not about becoming manipulative. This is about understanding the psychological economy of exposure. Every time you declare a limit, you are spending information. Information, once spent, cannot be reclaimed. So the real question is not, should you have boundaries? The real question is, why are you announcing them? Boundaries are most effective when they are enforced, not explained. Elias never said, "I will leave if disrespected." He simply left. No warning, no speech, just absence. Absence is the most brutal form of consequence because it offers no negotiation. People began to adjust around him without being told. They became careful, measured, self-aware, not because he demanded it, but because they could not afford to miscalculate him. And that is the final truth most will never accept. Control is not about force. It is about shaping perception. If they perceive you as predictable, they will test you. If they perceive you as harmless, they will use you. But if they perceive you as undefined, they will regulate themselves. So never reveal how far you are willing to go. Not because you are hiding something, but because what you are protecting is far more valuable than honesty. You are protecting uncertainty. And uncertainty, when held correctly, is quiet, calculated dominance.